Going on here? All right, welcome everybody. English 3110. I was just looking at the video that reviews our quiz coming up, so just to remember what's going on there. Okay, first, I posted information about the lockdown browser. This stuff stresses me out because somebody's going to have trouble with it. I'm going to get a lot of emails. Somebody else. Hopefully, there's only 3 or 4 people. But the first thing is, let me go over there, show you what it is. Okay, so in order to do an online quiz like this, we have to have some type of security because I don't really have open notes. I don't use open notes on a quiz or a test. I'm wanting you to use what's in your brain and that's it. Now, if you want to bring paper to a quiz or a test, that's fine, but it needs to be blank. As soon as a quiz or test starts, you can certainly make notes on it. I have no problem with that. But basically, all the quizzes and tests that we have are not they're not open notes. So then, how do we do this? Let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing here.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yes.
You know how you mentioned the blank paper?
Yes.
So would you want us to show, like, when the quiz starts, to show you, hey, this is what I'm using, it's blank?
Yes.
And then,
yes.
Okay. Okay. That way we could just, like, show it to you, and then that way, if we're looking down and writing, you don't
exactly right. Yeah. And
okay.
I think at the beginning of the video, the respondents monitor, it'll ask you to show your workstation a little bit. So you can move your computer around, show me some things and say, here's some paper. You can just talk to me in the video, say, I'm going to be making some notes as I go through the quiz. So you might see me looking down here or there. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I usually do when we're even like working, like here in class, I'll write on something because I just need to make sure it's right. Okay, and thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It makes a lot of sense, really, because maybe you want to transcribe the word out first before you put it into the box and Canvas, right? So, or you get into morphology, you do some diagrams on the paper first, and then you transfer that into Canvas. So yeah, I could see how you could do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Okay, well, how does this work? I hope this is not a pesadilla. Or like I see. I hope so. But what you should do right now, instead of sending out an email to everybody, I just made an announcement here. I haven't made many announcements, if I've made any. Okay, so it says lockdown browser respondents monitor requirement. So take some time this week and watch the video, download and install the lockdown browser. They remember the steps. To take the quiz, you must start the lockdown browser first, or you're a 4-wheel drive truck stuck in the mud. You're not going to get anywhere. You have to start the browser first, right? You open up the lockdown browser. You go into Canvas, as it says here, and then you go to quiz 1. It's not open yet, but it'll be open beginning, I think, on Sunday. So those are the basic 3 steps. So you can see the kind of the requirements and so on. But some of you, if you have a Chromebook, forget about it. It'll be your worst experience ever. So if you try to do the lockdown browser with a Chromebook, a lot of students tell me it just doesn't work. So keep that in mind. So my recommendation is download it, install it. If it doesn't work, just come by my office and talk to me about it. We'll figure something else out. It's what's called a plan B. I've had students take it during my office, right? Where I can kind of watch you. instead of monitoring, like if we have, can we take it on campus on their computers or something? If they have a webcam, why not? You can even borrow notebook computers from the technology lab. I know you can do that. So the answer to that is yes. I mean, this is even possible. Well, how many people, crap, I don't know how to do how many people are actually in Palm Desert? How many people are here at Cal State? I have no idea. How many Palm Desert people do we have?
I'm from Palm Desert.
Me too.
So we got a few in there, but not everybody, right? So if your browser doesn't work and you're in this area, in the San Bernardino area, you can show up on Monday and take it then in my 7:30 or my 1 o'clock class. You just bring your computer into class and you can just turn the computer on. Your lockdown browser is not working. You can just go directly to the quiz and I can just kind of walk around the room and watch you take the quiz. I mean, that's a possibility, but for the Palm Desert people, forget about that. But you guys, maybe if you have trouble, you can come by my office and talk to me. I guess anybody can come by and talk to me. If it doesn't work, we'll make it work. We'll figure it out.
Is your office Palm Desert or on the actual campus?
No, my office is in virtual office, my virtual office. I would have you take it online where I can watch you. I could probably, if I have 37 people doing it all at the same time, it's hard to keep track of everybody. But if it's only 3 or 4, that's really easy to do. I have office hours on Tuesday, Thursdays from 12 to 2:15, and the quiz shouldn't take more than about maybe 30 minutes to an hour at the most. But that's also.
Will the quiz be open from this Sunday all the way to the next Sunday?
I'm going to open it for the whole week beginning on Sunday. Yes, I can't remember if it's open till Saturday but it'll be open for sure Monday through Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so let's go. Can we go back to this for a minute? So we talked about that. Okay, I wanted to do that. And then looking at what we're doing today, we're getting into some transcription practice. Okay, let's go to the modules here. No, wait a minute. Why did I click on that? Okay, here. So you can see what we're up to right now. This kind of keeps me going. So I am going to dip into phonology a little bit near the end of class. So I don't have to, you do have a question on the quiz that focuses around that idea. So that's why I'm going to do that. So we'll talk a little bit about phonology today. We're going to do transcription practice beginning right now. Okay, where is it? Okay, let's try this one out. Okay. How about this? I'm gonna put 2 words on the board. We're gonna do maybe 10 or 12 words total, but I'm gonna just put some on here where you guys can practice. Here's one. And how about so we have this one. We have this one over here. Okay, take a minute and transcribe those. If anybody wants to just jump in and go for it, go for it, and we'll talk about it in a minute. If you don't want to see it, you'll just kind of move away from the screen for a minute, and then in a minute you can come back and check your answers. So we have you. Remember, we're not talking about Spanish here. It's not universidad, it's university. University, and academic. Academic. So let's see how we can do with these 2. There you go, Paulina. Let's see what's going on with that. Good. You're already on the right track. 80% of everybody starts off with a U. She started off with a Y. Good. U. university or university? And there's variation here, right? Especially with unstressed syllables, unstressed vowels. You'll see a lot of variation with transcriptions. The unstressed vowels, is it the big I? Is it the schwa? Those kinds of things. Univer, okay, I can see that. And I'm going to put underneath it, this is what I was saying there, the schwa, but I could see the big I, university, versity, or versity. Univer, academic, academic. There you go. University or university. The T or the flap? I'd say the flap. Call me lazy. I don't pronounce a T. University. That's me. That's how I say it. Hey, did you guys hear one of our beloved English professors passed away suddenly? Did you guys hear this?
She's actually one of my professors, so I heard about it.
Crap. Oh, it's what, Julie Pagel, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's, well, what was, nobody's telling me what's going on. What was the problem? Did you hear anything? I didn't even know she was sick.
So they didn't tell us anything. What they told us was that it's a private matter.
Yeah.
And that all they can tell us is that it wasn't COVID related.
Wow, I have no idea either. So I guess the health, that information is private. But when she was teaching, she seemed strong and lively and vibrant, and she didn't seem like she had any hidden issues or anything. It was maybe just a massive heart attack. I don't know. Did you hear, what was she like in the classroom physically?
I only had her for online classes, so I never actually got to meet her in person. But everyone's saying it was very sudden. Nobody expected it. And
yeah, right.
It's like a private, personal matter that they're not going to go into. They didn't say that they don't know. What they said was basically that they cannot tell what happened.
Well, they're not saying anything on the English listserv either, so I have no idea. Yet we're shocked. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Yeah, this just, I mean, everybody's going to die. The question is how and when. So that's all I can say. It's how we're going to do it and when we're going to do it. Nobody knows. Okay, let's look at the first one here. So una, and I went ahead and I put the schwa una is a schwa uni, university. I wouldn't use the Y at the end. What is the sound there? University, university, university. And I would I would probably use a schwa, but I could see an argument for the capital I. Universe. I'll just put it right there. You see that? I think it's a little I, university. Now, you guys notice how I'm saying this? I said it with a flap. Did you guys hear that? University, university.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the next one, AC. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, no. I think it's this in both cases. Ack. Ash. Ack. Ack. No, 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 no. What? So instead of the ash, what is this sound here? Somebody. Academic. Academic.
Would it be little u?
No, that's ooh. Ooh. Damn. No, no, no. Somebody's putting, let's see what we got. Elsa. Oh, the wedge. Interesting. Yes, I'm going to say it's the schwa, not the wedge, because it's not in the stressed syllable. So you have aka, and then you have demic. I don't think it's a schwa here. What does that sound? Measure, pet, met. What does that sound? Academic. No, that's academic. I don't think it's that one either. Good guess. You guys hear this? Yes, Sarah, thank you. There. Epsilon. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Academic. Now, here's the point system. How do I figure this stuff out? I have no idea, right? So we got the student who did this one missed 3 key areas, missed the vowel sounds. That's pretty big, right? So you got academic, but everything else is good. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sounds are good. We have 1, 2, 3 are not good. I'll probably give 8 or 9 out of that, 8 to 9 points out of 15. I would say that's probably what I would award on that. This student put the big I. I don't really like the big I there. I like the schwa better, but I probably wouldn't mess with it because I don't want any emails. So I'd probably just 14 to 15 on the first one. I'd say 8 to 9 points out of 15 on the second one. Remember that the Canvas is it will grade everything automatically, but it looks at the academic that the student did, and Canvas is going to give the student 0. And I think the student needs to get some points here. So then I got to go back in there, and instead of 0 here, I got to put 8 or I got to put 9. I have to add some things in there, unfortunately. And then that's going to set me back another 2 or 3 hours. But I think it's fair to give some points where points are deserved. Okay, any questions on those two? Okay, let's try this one out. Crap, look at this nonsense. What am I doing? On Okay. Let's see if somebody can get this. If I were Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, I'd make this 100-hour question. Let's see if somebody can do that. This is actually from Shakespeare's Hamlet. See if somebody can figure this one out. Yeah, have you? We're so good so far. Yeah, I put kind of a sentence you would never say, but if you can transcribe it. Yeah, have you? Good. So good so far. Here you go, Jose. Yeah, have you? Yeah, eaten. Have you eaten of? Good. Of. Look at all those wedges in there. Man, I put it. This should definitely not be something that you would just say to somebody. However, if you once you see what this is, the next time you're at a gas station and somebody comes up to ask you for money, I want you to say this. I want you to ask them this question, and almost 99.9% of the time, they will stop in their tracks and they will just about face and walk away because they cannot answer the question. So because they can't answer the question, they don't want to interact with you anymore. Remember this question. Good, we're getting it. Good. See, it's not like, well, if you know everything, you can just fill in the rest of it. It's, if you know Shakespeare really well, you can probably figure it out. And remember, Shakespeare doesn't say things that in the normal way. This sentence basically means, have you lost your mind? But that's not how Shakespeare is going to say it. Good. Yes. We're almost there. Get the last one. Maybe I did it wrong. Did I do it wrong? No, I think I did it right. Yeah, we're getting it. Good. And then have you, this is the eaten. We got it. Insane in the membrane, right? I'm telling you this, I've done this several times. When somebody's coming up to me, I don't want to talk to them. I don't know who the heck they are. Why are they coming over to me anyway? I just say to them, have you eaten of the insane root that takes reason prisoner? And they scratch their head and they look at me a little bit and they're like, what are you talking about? Whatever. They don't even say that. They just walk away. That's the end of it. You can do this with phone callers too. People, you know, it's a spam phone call. As soon as you answer, say this: have you eaten of the insane root that takes reason prisoner? And they just click. Good. We got it all there. So this would be an example of kind of a whole sentence, an actual question, but I'm not gonna put anything like that on the test here. How about this one? Let me look around here. What do we have? Okay. How about, let me do one here. Whiteboard. Okay, here we go. Okay, somebody transcribe that one. How about this one? I'm kind of preparing you for phonology by putting these three up there. And next week, when we do this first quiz, I expect there's going to be a problem with somebody. Remember, I know there will be problems with the lockdown browser. I already know that, right? Even if you're taking the test and then something happens and you can't finish it, just drop by my office. It's not a problem. We will figure it out, right? I'm the kind of person that's going to work with you. I want to help you. I want you to finish this course and move on with your life, right? If you had a legitimate issue during the test that closed, you didn't finish it, just come by. Sometimes I can do some things with a quiz that might allow you to finish it, or I may have to delete your attempt altogether and you start over. Whatever it is, we will figure it out. So I don't want you to be stressed, right? You got enough stress in your life. No stress from this class. Remember, you just have to talk to me, send a quick email. But if it's a problem with it, it might be better to talk to me face to face by Zoom. We can figure it out. We will figure it out. That's the main thing. Somebody told me a long time ago in Spanish, they said, Michael, just say to them, no te agüites. You guys ever heard that? No te agüites? Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Or no se preocupe, or some things you can't control. And in Mexico, sometimes they'll see you later. They go, si Dios quiere. Maybe, maybe not. Hopefully, right? So si Dios quiere, we don't have any major problems. But if we do, we'll figure them out. We will resolve them. Okay, good. Let's see what we got here. So now we're taking a look at the whiteboard here. We got ow. Notice we have the diphthong, houses. I'm going to change this to that. Houses, right? So this is let's say it's a 15-point question. I'll give 14 points for that one. Grabs. Books. Books. There you go, right there. Now, here's my question. This is a legitimate question, and it relates to phonology. Okay, in the first word, we have, why do we say is for the S there? In the second one, the S is pronounced as a Z. In the third one, the S is pronounced as an S. I'm asking, why does this make sense phonologically?
If you don't have the IZ in houses, you can't tell that the word is plural and not just regular.
Yes, because if you apply the original rule, right, you put the S on the end of the word like books and pronounce it as an S, you say house, it already ends in house. I mean, it already ends in S, right? So in that case, if you say house and then you put an S, house, we don't really pronounce the same sound twice like that. One of the sounds is going to disappear. So it ends in an S. There's no way to know if it's a plural S. And you got some big points for that. Good. That makes sense. The only way to realize the plural S inflectional ending here is to add an additional syllable at the end of the word there. And then we have is. So when you say house is, you know it's plural. So you say a house, singular, 2 houses is now plural. Okay, let's move on. So why is the S in the second word pronounced as a Z and not as an S?
Wouldn't it be because of assimilation?
Explain more. Yes, and assimilation is defined in the workbook as the process of how one sound influences another sound so they become alike in some feature. So how is the S similar to the B when it's pronounced as a Z? And now if you answer that, you exactly answer the question. Yeah, think about, when you think about assimilation, think about the sound that precedes the S, right? We know that the B is a bilabial consonant, right? The 2 lips come together when we force it, and we know the S is more of an alveolar consonant. The tongue is kind of behind the teeth slightly toward the top of the mouth, but we can't really say that the S is more of a bilabial consonant now, but the B is a voice consonant, right? It means when you produce the B sound, there is vibration in the vocal folds when we produce it. So then the B influences the S, so it becomes more of a voice consonant, and that's why it changes into a Z, because a Z is a voice consonant and S is a voiceless consonant. So the two sounds are becoming similar, and that the S is becoming more of a voice consonant like the B. And as a student just said, this is happening because of assimilation, the process of how one sound influences another sound so they become more alike. That's a term you need to know for the quiz right there. Okay, let's go to the last one. Why is the S pronounced as an S after the K? And I can't see anybody or anything right now because I'm at the whiteboard, but anybody jump in at any second, whatever you want, it's okay.
Is it because of the K or the X S sound? Books?
Okay, let's go back to our definition, right? So we can say that assimilation is having an effect in all three cases. So the K, let's just look at the K first. Is this a voiced or voiceless consonant?
Isn't it a voiceless consonant?
It is. It is definitely, yes. But you kind of said that with rising tone a little bit, but yes, exactly. So then the S is also a voiceless consonant. So in this case, it's very easy to say books. It's harder to say bugs, books. It's harder to make that S sound like a Z when it comes after a voiceless consonant. So here, the natural way to say it is books. The natural way to say this one is grabs, grabs. And the natural way to say this is houses. That's what I wanted to illustrate by those three.
As a general rule of thumb, would you say that any voiceless consonant followed by an S would generally make the S sound, and a consonant with voice would make the Z sound, correct or no?
Yes, yes.
Okay, awesome.
You created a phonological rule. That's exactly what you did. And you can do that even without knowing the rule. As long as you have some data, you have some words to look at, you can create phonological rules. Everybody's a native speaker. You just need to be able to put the words in sequence and kind of look at them together, right? I mean, I could do something similar. I mean, let me try to clear this for a minute. Let me see something one more here. How about this? Let's do this. If I said, okay, transcribe these three. And then I'm going to say, and then I'm going to say, okay, let's try these
Professor,
three. Yes.
Going back to houses, how you gave only 14 out of 15, why would that be 14 out of 15?
The student put, it didn't have the big I in there. I can't remember what the symbol the student put, but it wasn't the right, one of the symbols wasn't right. Everything else was good.
Oh, okay.
So it was almost not quite 100%. And I don't know why I said 14. I could have said 13 or 14 and a half. Who knows? But I didn't give it 100 all the points because it had one symbol that I didn't think was in there. There we go, Taylor. We see what's going on. So we have planted, we have grabbed, washed. So we can talk about assimilation here also. Washed, washed, washed. Okay, anybody else who's getting bored here, I'm going to throw some words up here, right? Among, between, just keep focused on that. If you're bored, you can answer this question. My first year comp students want to know, how do I know when I use among and when I use between? They're both prepositions, right? This is just a word choice thing. Sometimes you have to look at words. How do they work? How do they go in sentences? And think of words like this. I call these further, and these are also really, I get confused on this one. Terrible. Drives me crazy. Further, farther. I drove further down the street. I drove farther. Don't even worry about that one. Go back to among and between as we're working on the transcription. Any comments on that? There are two different words, which means there must be a use for between, and there's another one for among. Anybody have any idea on that?
I would say that among is a broader term. Like, it's not something very precise. It's kind of ambiguous in its term, in its like language. Whereas between is it's more specific. It's saying like, hey, it's right in between. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about the location. Whereas among has a question of location, right? You're laughing, no.
No, I think you're going around the barn a few times, but I don't think you're getting to it. Let me ask you this. Which one would refer to A and B only? The decision, blah, 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 was blank, the students and the professor.
Between.
Good. Which one would be three or more?
Among.
So
it's based on numbers.
Yes. The student discussed among themselves whether or not they should postpone the exam, or there was a discussion between the students and the professor about whether or not to postpone the exam. So typically among is three or more, but you're kind of getting it because between is a very specific A or B only. It's two. It's two of something, but among is typically three or more. So, and it's usually not as precise, but you could just say among. If I say that the students discussed among themselves, that means there's at least three of them, three or more. But there's not a definite number, but there's at least three. We know that. Between, there's A or B only, those. How about further and farther? I drove further down the street. I drove farther down the street. The lecture went on further than we anticipated or farther than we anticipated. How do we use those two words?
Wouldn't that be a question of the tense? Because
no, these are not verbs. There's no tense involved here. No.
Fair.
No. Tense is past tense, present tense, future. No, further and farther don't work in that way. They're not verbs. What are they? I don't know.
Are they prepositions?
No, I'm going to say maybe adverbs. I think they're adverbs. I'm not 100% sure on that. They drove farther down the street.
Yes.
Where did they go? Where they went farther. So to me, farther is more distance. This is how I remember it, right? I ran farther today than I did yesterday, or the lecture went on further than the students anticipated. Further is kind of like more quantity here, but farther is more distance. But all of these kinds of words are very confusing, both for native speakers and non-native speakers alike. Okay, let's see what we've got with our transcriptions. We have grabbed, good, grabbed. We have washed, perfect. And we're working on the last plan, planted, or planet, either way. We're almost done. Oh, good. Somebody's transcribing. Yeah. Between. Somebody do among. Forget about that. If you can do that one, you really. Now, wait a minute. It's not among. It's just among. Among. Yeah, there it is, Taylor. Thank you. You finished it. Okay, good. Now I want to bring up a point here. So I would say, I'm going to say 15 on that. This one planned, I'm going to say 13 to 14 on that, not 100%. 15 points here. So what are we missing in the first one? There, thank you. Now I hear the past tense ending because of the id, planted, grabbed. Does it make sense that children, you ever hear children say grabbed? That sometimes children are not sure with the ed. They don't know whether to say washed or washed or grabbed or grab it because they see planted, they see handed, and then they're like, wait a minute. Sometimes there is an additional syllable with the ed at the end of a verb, and sometimes they're not. So it takes children, even say 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years of age, you'll have a lot of variation with how they pronounce ed endings. And then of course, for non-native speakers, it's a complete disaster for a while, and they'll have a lot of trouble with that. Okay, I'm going to make one change here though. I'm going to change that wedge, the first one, to a schwa, but I would still give the person full points on it. But does anybody know why I would do that? So I'm changing the first wedge to a schwa, among. Anybody want to shed light on why I did that? We're 10 more minutes. We're almost done. I'm going to go to phonology in just a minute. Somebody answer that question, and we'll move on. Get some water here. You can see my favorite football team right here, Dallas Cowboys. They stink. They've been stinking for 20 years. I wish they lost their first game, of course, but they barely lost. It looks like their quarterback, Dak Prescott's back. He's back in business, but still, I don't have a lot of confidence in him. And if you're a Packers fan, forget it. 38-3 in the season opener. Wow. What a terrible way to start. Okay, nobody's answering here. You have the schwa is, it occurs in unstressed syllables. Notice how I'm saying among. I'm putting the stress in the second schwa sound, not the first. So the second sound is the wedge. The first one is the schwa because the schwa occurs in unstressed syllables. In the vowel chart, they're very, very close together. They're in kind of the middle of the chart, which means they're almost exactly the same sound. Very close. But that would be the only difference. Okay, that's good enough there. Let's move on before you guys have had enough. You get tired of hearing me talk here. Let me do one more thing and we'll be done today. Okay, right here. So phonology. So if we think about phonetics, right? And remember, you need to know definitions of both of these areas. Phonology is a study of the sound system of a language. We're not just looking at how the sounds are produced, but we're looking more at how they are organized in the language. So think of it like that. So how the particular sounds contrast in each language, blah, 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 to form a system. Then we get into what's called phonemes. A really easy way to remember that is just these 3 words here. Meaningfully distinct sounds. Really easy to remember that. Assimilation, remember, you need to know this for the quiz. The process by which a sound becomes more like a nearby sound in terms of some feature. So what we talked about is, at least in the word grabs, We're saying that the S is becoming similar to the B because it occurs after that sound. So then the S becomes voiced like the B, which is a voiceless consonant. So the two sounds are more alike. That's assimilation. Now then, the idea here, there's always a question is when we get deeper into phonology, I'm going to ask you if two words are minimal pairs or not. Or I'll ask you this. I might say, let me put this here. Wait a minute, what are we doing here? Okay, how about this, right? The CH and the SH, right? And I might say, in English, is the C and the S hat check sounds, are they separate phonemes? Now, if you can create a minimal pair, the answer is yes, they are. So a minimal pair means two words that differ only by a single sound in the same position and have different meanings, but are otherwise identical. Look at what I'm doing here. Do you see how I can create a minimal pair here? I have cheap, I have sheep. There's three sounds in each word, and the sounds differ in the initial position. So we can say, absolutely, these, you can create a minimal pair using these. So the CH and the SH are actually separate phonemes in English. Now remember, what might be a separate phoneme in English, it doesn't mean it'll be a separate phoneme in another language. Now, Spanish speakers can tell me this. Where is it? I think it's like this. I'm going to say this one and then this one. Okay, Spanish speakers. We have the R and the R. Is the R and the R, are these separate phonemes in Spanish?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let me show you. What does this tell you?
The first one is butt, and the second one is dog.
Do you see what we're saying? So notice how you can create, you have the R and then the R, the trilled R, you can create separate words with these different sounds. So in Spanish, we have two different R sounds. In English, we do not. But did you know in English, if you go to Scotland, they do trill their R's in Scotland in some areas. They might say, Richard, it's nice to meet you. But even though they trill the R, it doesn't make it a separate phoneme in English, but indeed it does make it a separate phoneme in Spanish. So don't assume just because two sounds in English are separate phonemes, it does not mean that they'll be separate phonemes in another language. You guys know the words, right? The R and the L, right? In Japanese and Korean, the R and the L sounds are pretty much the same sound. They're not considered separate phonemes. So if you said to a Korean or Japanese speaker, turn right at the light, if they're talking to you, they're going to say turn right at the right. They're going to say the R and the L both as an R, and they have a lot of trouble pronouncing the L. I'm teaching 2 Korean students right now, and they're working really hard on this. 3 weeks into the semester, they still cannot pronounce those 2 sounds. Forget it. I told them to be patient. I said, when I was learning Spanish, it took me probably more than a year before I could say carro, perro, que rápido corren los carros. You know, it was really, really tough. So certain sounds as you learn a new language are going to be more difficult to acquire. And I think that's it. I'm going to end on that. So that's a little bit into phonology, right? We look at how things are organized in the language. We look at what the phonemes are in the language. Are there any allophones to those phonemes? And we'll get into that in more detail on another day. So it looks like on Thursday, we'll do a review of the quiz. I'll do a little bit more practice. I'll answer questions. We'll probably have about a 30-minute class session on that day. Any questions?
Can you post this recording today, Professor?
Say again?
Would you be able to post this recording recording for this meeting?
Yes.